Fabric overview, and then present some scenarios that Western Computer is working on with our customers. And we didn't select all the possible scenarios. These are the ones that we implement more frequently. For example, the customer wants to build a data warehouse. They may have legacy data from ERP or CRM systems that were maybe decommissioned. They have silos of data that they want to consolidate, and they essentially need to have that data accessible. Even if that data is 5 years old or 7 years old or 10 years old, data needs to be accessible. So the data warehouse example scenario allows us to build for them just that. So we build a data warehouse, and we make the data analytics process easier. Again, with all the advantages that were mentioned, in terms of centralized governance, secure collaboration, a single data format, and again, during the demo, Dan will probably show some aspects of data warehouse. One thing that I wanted to emphasize is from a billing option, Fabric offers a unique model where, regardless of the workloads, there's only two components to Fabric. There's a compute cost and there's a storage cost. The storage cost is about 1/10 of the compute cost. But the compute cost doesn't differentiate between workloads. In the past, we used to have to pay separately for data warehouse, separately with data integration. With Fabric, it's compute. How many capacity units are being used by the data warehouse? So consolidated billing options is a theme that you will see through the various example scenarios. Data integration, the scenario is here. Okay, I have many data sources. I want to connect them, but maybe more importantly, I want to transform the data. My data is not necessarily consistent. I have different naming conventions in my different data sources. The data is not clean. I have missing data. Help me to bring that data together. Help me to transform that data. And, if that can be done in a easy-to-use self-service way, that's even better. It can't, not always, but sometimes there is user interfaces that allow to easily build pipelines or data flows that allow users to integrate and transform the data. There is tens, maybe hundreds of connectors that are available with Azure Data Factory and Fabric and Power BI that allow to connect to various data sources. The third scenario, and this is probably most familiar because this is this is the tip of the iceberg. This is what users see, is the business intelligence. So I have my data warehouse, my data sources are integrated, they're cleaned, they're ready for business use. Now I need to get insights into my data to optimize my business. And that's where Power BI comes into play. And consistently, Gartner rates Power BI in the top right quadrant for vision and ability to execute. So we work with our customers to build various reports that are based on their data. And sometimes, and I will get to that in a slide, we don't necessarily aim to build all the reports that the customer may want. We usually build with them a few, and then through the knowledge transfer that happens during those sessions, many customers are able to go and build a lot of their reports themselves. Last but not least, Dynamics 365 integration. So this is a scenario where customers want to enhance the reporting. There is a lot of reporting that's available within Dynamics, but sometimes they want more. They want more flexible. They have different statistics, different charts, different trends, forecasting. All that may not be available in Dynamics. So that what we do is we help the customer extract the data from Dynamics. And that is done primarily with two tools. One is linked to Fabric, which allows data extractions from Dynamics 365 CE and Finance and Supply Chain Management. And BC2 Azure Data Lake storage is another tool that we use. So we extract the data, and then we, with Dataverse and Fabric, the data access is bidirectional. With exports from Business Central, it's one way from Business Central to Fabric. And all this leverages all the capabilities of Fabric that I mentioned. Once you bring the data out, you bring it into Fabric, you have all the advantages. Delta Parquet file format, performance, compression, data freshness. You can refresh the data on various intervals. On BC2 ADLS is managed by the client. On Link to Fabric is managed by Microsoft. And that is the scenario that allows data to be combined also with other data sources outside of Dynamics 365. This is the last slide. So how do we put all this together? Because many times customers prefer to have an end-to-end approach. So this is a typical structure of a proof of concept for Fabric that we implement with our customers. We set up Fabric, and it doesn't take weeks or months like it used to, as I said before. We export the data using one of two ways that I mentioned earlier. We integrate data from historical or other data sources in addition to Dynamics. And then we build a medallion architecture, which has been around before Fabric, but Fabric implements it very easily, where you have different layers that we'll show during our demo. At the top of those layers, at the goal layer, we build a semantic model, and the Power BI reports leverage that semantic model. We start with a limited number of reports, but that creates a foundation in terms of the data architecture and the semantic model that our customers can take and leverage. Power BI is, as you know, an open book. It's no hidden code. You know, all the measures are visible, the table relationships are visible. So once we build this foundation, and we require a number of reports to build that foundation, because we want to build a foundation based on report requirements, not some generic structure. So once we do that, customers can start building, engage us if they need additional help, or continue building those reports themselves.